completely blown out. You should be able to hear me okay. It seems to be good. And there's only you and me, whoever's in here. Huh, where is everyone this week? Hope they show up and don't miss chapter 11. Well, they have a couple minutes. It's a little chilly. It has been rainy. I'm a little nervous about this evening. Did it rain today? I don't think it rained today, but it's really a little cloudy up there. Definitely rained yesterday. But we're under a tree, so hopefully that will keep us safe. I brought myself a little wrap because it is a little chilly, although I need to make sure that the microphone is on the wrap if I do that. Let's see if I can put it on a little, just a little bit. Oh, I forgot to bring nuts for the squirrel. I tried to give him nuts the other day. I don't know if he got them or some bird got them, but is that 6 people in here? Oh, people are arriving. Excellent. Cool. Yes. Is that our squirrel friend? So bad I forgot the nuts. Trying to befriend him. And the neighborhood horses and cows, you know. I saw a little horse today on my walk. Thank you. Yes, I'm wearing my nice bright red Sephora lipstick. I really like it. Where did I put it? It's down there. I love it. I think I need a new one. I think I'm running out. I normally do just like a normal lipstick, but this feels so smooth. It feels really nice going on. And it stays pretty well too. Oh, my cat is in the window meowing at me. Oh dear, he found me. He really wants to go outside. But I'm still trying to figure out his GPS collar. Oh dear, he's meowing. Okay, so I say we get started because I'm afraid of getting rained out, so we might as well get as far as we can. See if we can keep our record going. We are about halfway through. Yeah, so that's cool. I mean, I think there are 24 chapters, but we are on chapter 11. I got my cigarettes. I have 2 that I've been custom making for my boyfriend that are half tobacco and half mullein. It's an herb and it's supposed to be good for your lung health, so we're helping him cut down on tobacco, and he likes those. I've got my other store-bought herbal ones, and then 2 of the herbal ones that I made, I think so, that have the lavender and mugwort in them as well. I need to make some more this week. I was kind of running a little late today. So trying to get started on a sewing project today. I'm doing another Outlander bodice. I have 2 corsets now, or stays as they were called in the 18th century. I'm getting prepared for the cold weather. I like to dress up in these giant wool skirts, and I'm working on that. And I'm waiting on like a Edwardian Victorian corset. I'm not being too specific with it. I know the look I'm going for, but you know, I can't be super specific. There are way too many time periods to, you know, way too many. I just can't. I'm looking forward to that. I'm thinking of doing a video where I wear the corset for a week and see how that feels. I might do it like a week with the Edwardian one, and then do it with the stays later. Maybe the whole Outlander outfit when it's colder. I'll do that for a week because I don't go anywhere. No. So I'm thinking of making videos like that because I think that might be interesting. Other people have done videos in their corsets. So I was thinking a week in the Edwardian one, but darn it, I have to make myself a new chemise. Anyway, I'm just talking about my fun sewing projects. And we will get started with the reading, and I will do one of my herbal ones first. With my cool, eco-friendly lighter. I forget what it's made of now. Some kind of recycled plastic. Oh, I forgot. Yes. Yes, I did some research, and yeah, I think tea and smoking it, I mean, tea is probably better for you, but they're both supposed to be helpful for your lungs. So yeah, I'm learning a lot of new herbal things this year, so that's helpful and exciting and overwhelming because there's so much to learn. You know, it kind of reminds me of a campfire. I don't know, it's I guess like when you're starting a campfire, or at least when we did, with the pieces of paper, you know, and you're burning it and you smell burning paper. It just kind of reminds me of a campfire. All right, buckle in. It's not as much happens as last week. I mean, last week was quite busy in the nuns' world. I really have to be careful with this. I burned a hole, don't happen again, in this little bag that I carry my book in. I'm really mad about that. I don't want to burn my lovely wrap or my jeans or anything. All right. Uh-oh, got lipstick. Gotta be careful about that. Apologies for the people in the background. That's the neighbors, if you can hear that. I don't know what they're doing. Hopefully not a party. Oh no, an itch. No. All right. The changing colors of the altar cloths, from the violet of Advent through the whites and golds of Christmas and on to the purples of Lent, told of the passing year. Or there were the 4 letters she was permitted to write annually to her family, of 4 pages each and not a sentence more, except with special permission which she seldom sought. Instead, she shrunk her bold, square handwriting down to the spidery lace that gave more lines to the page, and saw herself finally writing, just like all the other missionary sisters. There was the continuous drop on Father Andre's leg for 3 months after his accident, and then bi-monthly x-rays of slowly mending tissues, which always gave her a struggle with pride. And every so often, Mother Mathilde reported that she had written to the mother house for the nursing reinforcement that never came. Afterward, when Sister Luke looked back on her first Congo year, she saw but one really important experience in it. It was nothing she could report to her family as a major impression. You had to be a nun to see it that way. God caught up with her and gave her one more chance to recite her vows without reservation. Then, I guess something exciting does happen, but, well, not as well. Then, when she was safely in his pocket, he let her see with shattering clarity how little humility she had. She repeated her vows on what she had hoped and prayed was her deathbed, struck down with a dysentery that left no desire to live, or even the memory of what it had been like to be alive without the agonizing pain that tore the will to shreds. When she discovered her condition, she hid it as long as she could. It was a humiliation, a loss of a working hand in the community, a waste of God's time through her own carelessness, she believed. She traced her malady to tropical fruits which had possibly been stung by the fruit fly. Twice weekly, when she went to the native hospital to take lumbar punctures, a serving boy showed his ardor by waiting for her at the clinic door with a bowl of iced fruit, usually mangoes he had traded in the native market. It was his way of saying, "I like you." The chilly golden flesh of the mangoes was delicious to eat in the humid forenoons, when you had a dozen lumbar punctures lined up and the sensitive tests of spinal fluids to make afterwards, in a quest of the trypanosomes of sleeping sickness. The dysentery was the fulminant type, quick and acute. The day she collapsed in surgery seemed to be her last. The doctor raged at her as he put her on a stretcher. "You should have told sooner, you proud little fool." His face hung close. "How many stools in the past 24 hours?" "More than 30, she whispered, and saw his sallow face go grey. They carried her to the convent infirmary. In a haze of pain and exhaustion, she swallowed what the doctor ordered and felt the needle prick of his opium injections. The black face of Emile, the doctor's yellow face, and the delicate ovals of Mother Mathilde's, and Sister Aurélie hung alternately over her until late in the night. On my pants. And she guessed she must be passing the bright red gelatinous mucus of the last stage when she heard Mother Mathilde tell the doctor she would summon priests and sisters. She was floating above the bed, looking down on a young nun dying there, when she heard the sisters at 3 o'clock in the morning, coming along the path from dormitory to infirmary, singing the Miserere softly in the cricket shrill African night. She saw all 20 sisters with lighted candles in their hands, and old Father Stephen at the end of the procession carrying the viaticum, with Mother Mathilde and her senior nun beside him with the holy oils. "You die so beautifully when you are a nun," she thought. She looked down again upon the bed where the dying one lay, so young, so heroic, so humbly waiting with folded hands for a bit of parchment to be placed between them. A promise signed on the altar years ago and in a distant place. She listened to the Miserere plead that she would have strength to ask God for his mercy, confess her iniquities, and offer up to him a contrite and humbled heart. Coming toward the dying, the sisters sang their hopes for her. Going away, they would sing the Te Deum to thank God for accepting her nothingness. All this for me, she thought, and even more. Next day a cable would inform the Mother House of her death, and shortly after, every convent and the entire congregation would make the Stations of the Cross in her name. She saw the processionals winding through all the European houses, on to the Orient and back again through India and the Congo. Ah, those beautiful processionals that had always caught her by the throat, even when she had been a participant in them, and occasionally, like these oncoming sisters, had been routed from sleep at some unearthly hour to wind around a dying nun, a shroud of heavenly song. There was a smile on her lips when Father Stephen entered the room, raised the viaticum, and intoned the opening phrase of extreme unction. "Peace to this house," he sang in a rich baritone. "And to all who live herein," responded her sisters, holding their little candles before their faces. But she recovered. She knew why, even before she returned to the community to be congratulated by her sisters for her readiness to die. One by one, during the weeks she lay in the hospital, her conscience turned up the humiliating truths of her illness. Her entire preparation to die had been a fraud, an indulgence in heroism and self-pity. The smile the sisters had seen and called courageous had been for gratification at the thought of 1,000 nuns circling the globe in a memorial procession in her name. Had there been a single moment, even in that most solemn ceremony of last rites, when her heart had been truly humbled and every thought bent directly toward God? Her self-examination grew more relentless as she gained strength. She made it as meticulously as she had prepared slides for the microscope, looked down the tube and named what she saw. You walk, you talk, you even write like a nun. But you are not a nun, not yet. The mold has shaped you to look like one, but inside that deceptive shell still flourishes pride and vainglory, worldliness and self-love. On a scorching afternoon, when the wing dance flew thickly around the recreation kiosk, she returned to the community. From the sick bed she brought one fixed idea. that God would pursue her with humiliations until she learned humility. Her first hour with her sisters confirmed this belief. She shrunk with shame when they congratulated her on her courage before death. When she could stand their praise no longer, she said it wasn't courage. She hunted for something other than her own truth to say. It was more of a snobism. The nuns knew what she meant. Sometimes the more lowly and humble you made yourself, the more superior you felt. Some of the nuns were shocked by her frankness. Others admired it. Mother Mathilde tapped twice on the arm of a chair to indicate that she would take over the talk. Let's do the tobacco one. I do have the matches here too, but it's just a little difficult with the book to use the matches. Sister Luke didn't die, she said quietly, because her mission is not yet accomplished. Moreover, my sisters, it was not she who was tested, but us, the community. She nodded emphatically. Ah yes, God was only testing us to see if we were willing to give up a number. Her smile embraced the circle and reminded them that they were all only numbers. One number less in our understaffed community would have been a heavy cross for us to bear at this time. Not one sister less, not one nun with a known name and background less, just one number less, Sister Luke thought. She looked up at her superior, who never forgot first principles of the religious life. Be nothing before you can be something. She saw some of her sisters squirming inwardly under the anonymity Mother Mathilde had thrust upon them all, but upon me mostly, she thought. She trained her dressing boys soon after she returned to work and made Emile her deputy. Both innovations brought the spotlight of singularity upon her. The chief in charge of nursing in the hospital had always had a nun as deputy, as she had been given Sister Audrey. But why a nun? Why not, she asked herself, old black Emile, who had seen generations of us pass through this hospital and knows as much about nursing as any of us? I'd like to make him my deputy, she informed Mother Mathilde. Then we can free Sister Audrey for total time in the maternity pavilion. Were Emile my deputy, moreover, all punishment of the coloured staff would be dealt out by him instead of by the nuns, and I think this would be good. Only a handful of us for those 300 beds. We have more to worry about than the trace of Simba on a black boy's breath, ma mère. Mother Mathilde thought for a moment, seeming to weigh the intention rather than the suggestions. Sister Luke felt the probe of her bright eyes. Desire for change, merely for the sake of doing something different, was one of the big temptations of every nun. It could catch you on even such little things as having to fold your habit in exactly the same way, day after day, year after year, for no other reason than that the rule said thus and not so and so. And your occasional rebellions, boiling up with the force of almost a physical passion and as difficult to overcome, reminded you that obedience was no mouse-like virtue, easily captured and kept. Sister Luke knew that all this had passed through her superior's mind before she gave her consent. Very well, she said at last, and I myself will inform the doctor, who could have no objections as far as I can see. Sister Luke returned to the hospital to hand over to a black man a responsibility nearly equal to her own. She called together all her registered male nurses and technicians, most of whom had had 4 years of study and were fluent in French, and all her messengers, cleaning boys and kitchen staff. She told them that from that day forward, Emile was to be their capita. Knowing how the blacks loved the idea of hierarchy and understood it through their own tribal traditions, she explained that she was setting up a line of authority. When you have some problem, you will now tell it to Emile, your capita, she said. He will tell me. I will consult with Big Mama Mathilde, and she in turn will ask God for guidance. Thus all problems will be handled henceforth. Their faces beamed. It would be easier to tell their troubles to Emile and have him translate them for white understanding. The sudden longings to return to the bush village, the taboos and fears always difficult to express in any language other than their own. Now they saw these going up through Emil, straight up the line to God and back again, justly decided. Also, said Sister Luke, there will be no more punishment ordered by the sisters. Your capita will henceforth decide each case and himself decree the punishment. This made an even greater impression. Her boys looked with renewed respect on Emil. A case Negro like themselves, the oldest among them and the longest in the hospital, now most justly elevated to a worthy position. Punishment was always a ticklish business. Like the doling out of the dry ration which constituted part of their pay, punishment must also, to make it acceptable, be weighed and dealt out with exactitude. Sister Luke listened to the ripples of approval that passed through the room when she finished speaking. I burned my tongue on coffee today, and it feels funny. She would have been astonished had anyone told her that her innovation was in reality a small stroke added to the vast blueprint of a future Congo which planned to turn the children of cannibals into full-fledged doctors, priests, and engineers within the next 2 decades. She knew almost nothing about colonial policies. She knew only that without the aid of her black boy, she couldn't have run her hospital. Oh, sorry. She would never even had known that her name and the news of a prestige-giving promotion of Emil started on its way to the bush that same night, had not one of her sisters been able to read the drums. In the recreation kiosk, as she sat under the electric light, dodging bats and fanning off winged ants, she heard a visiting sister from the Kipushi Bush station compliment Mother Mathilde for something having to do with the hospital administration. "And who, may I ask, is Mamma Luke?" said the visiting sister, looking around the circle while the drums talked softly from the native town. Emil became her shadow. When she asked for extra night duty, he found out from the bulletin board and took it also. When she went across town to the native hospital, he rode with her in the convent Ford, carrying the instruments which had never before been entrusted to a black man. From him she learned more about the Congo and its 12 million blacks, of whom the majority were Bantus like himself, than if she had made many safaris. Emil told her of the rivers she had never seen, and of the spirits inhabiting their whirlpools, of the rainforest and the mountains where the great baboons lived. And he named the tribes belonging to those regions: Baluba, Batembo, Batetela, Balamba, Bayeke, Basuku, the smile or scorn on his thick black lips telling which he considered admirable or otherwise. Sometimes when they drove through the marketplace, he would point out a native who looked to her eyes like any other and tell her that he was a Bangala, as anyone could see from the coxcomb tattoo that lifted in lumps down the middle of his forehead, or that one trading an ebony statue was either a Bakuba or a Tutsiokwi, tribes known for their good sculptors. She in turn told him whatever he wished to know about her people, which was not very much. Emil had been so long with the whites, first in missionary schools and then in the hospital, that he seemed to take them for granted, neither to be feared nor revered, but simply to be respected because they knew more than he. Only the white mammas puzzled him, he once confessed. Where were their husbands? When she tried to explain, she discovered how incomprehensible to the mentality of the bush native was the idea of chastity, even to one as evolved as Emil, who had words like appendectomy in his vocabulary, and probably could have performed one after all the operations he had assisted. The concept of a mystic marriage was impossible to explain without getting into the subject of polygamy, as had happened to one of the nuns who had tried to make the seemingly solitary situation of so many white sisters understandable to a Negro with 5 wives. Eventually, Sister Luke solved the dilemma by telling Emil that indeed she had a husband who was in heaven, and that she had made him a promise never to marry again. Emil understood promise, he understood widow. Grave with sympathy, he nodded and never spoke of it again. Emil helped her to work out a plan to give specialized training to some of her male nurses. Observation had taught her that the Congolese was an excellent routine worker, Once shown how to do a thing, he would follow the original teaching without a hair's deviation. There was a saying in the convent, she explained to Emile, which would automatically put the seal of approval on their efforts. No task is difficult when the maxim, once it is fully perceived. The big merit lies in seeing the task and in comprehending what it consists of. Instructor capacity was the watchword of the Congo in the 1930s. The whole country was standing on the threshold of a phenomenal upsurge which was to double its white population within a few years and quintuple the number of blacks drawn in from the bush to its hospitals, mines and textile mills, to become, like her own boys, the first generation to work with whites, eat their foods, copy their customs, and eventually to enter into that queer, lonely society of the évolués, which was neither black nor white, but some kind of grey mixture like clay before it's fired. Hundreds of other Europeans were doing the same thing as she at that time, pushing, encouraging, putting into the natives as much knowledge as they could absorb. The only difference was that the others knew they were in step with the times. They read newspapers and lived in the new world, rising visibly around them out of the ancient bush and jungle. Sister Luke merely saw her boys follow with eager eyes the progress of their capita as Emile pushed the dressing cart from bed to bed and handed her what she called for. She asked Emile to select the 4 brightest, then she summoned them to a conference. When you had something to tell or show to the natives, you always made a little drama to give an added value to the piece of white man's knowledge you were going to impart. The boys came into the dressing room and saw Emile lying on the table heavily bandaged. Sister Luke waited until their startled chatter died down. Then she told them that this was a Monsieur X, just recovering from a hernia operation. "I'm going to change his dressing," she said. "Then I'm going to teach you to do it. This is practice, but the day will come when you 4 will be the core elite of our nursing staff, entrusted with the change of dressings for all our male patients." Which one's which? I will have one of my herbal ones again. Not a boy moved. Ow. But she felt them draw back instinctively and knew why. No black man, no matter how skilled, ever touched the wound of a white man. It was one of the unwritten laws which made no sense when you recalled that many of the younger patients had grown up in the Congo and had black boy guardians who had removed chiggers from under their toenails and had patted mud on their bruises and scratches. "We do everything with forceps," she said. She picked up a forceps from the dressing cart. "Never touch a patient, see? Never touch a dressing, even with sterile gloves." She made a frame of overlapping towels around the black abdomen of Emile, then with forceps began lifting in slow motion the first layer of dressings. The boys drew closer to the table. For a week she trained them in secret, and they practiced on each other under Emile's supervision when she was making the rounds with the doctor. Then one morning she told them they were ready. Sterile gowned and gloved, they preceded her with the dressing cart to the men's pavilion. They were practical nurses with 4 years' schooling. They knew every white man lying in the rooms and had carried trays into them and bedpans out, had watched over them in fevers and over the apparatuses that fed them blood or glucose. But they went to pieces outside the door where Sister Luke flagged them to a stop. Fear of the new thing they were about to do made their faces go grey. There was a quick chatter of Kiswahili among them, as if birds warning each other. Sister Luke called their names calmly, made each pick up the object he was responsible for. Mafuta, the sterile towels. Banza, the kidney basin. Edouard and Ilunga, forceps, she ordered sternly, then smiled. "We'll go over it again before we enter. You are going to dress a deep thigh wound. Mafuta places towels around it, edges overlapping so no sheet shows. Edouard assists by Ilunga lifts off the dressings with forceps. Edouard, assisted by Ilunga, lifts off the dressings with forceps, drops them into the kidney basin Banzer holds ready. They remove as far as the collodion gauze, which you know is bright yellow. Then they step back. I come forward, lift the gauze, look at the stitches, remove them if ready. Emil passes medication if needed. Then you again. She did not tell them that she had prepared the patient also for this innovation, and had selected for their debut the most easygoing colonial, who thought it would be amusing to have a boy's dress his wound instead of a nun. She nodded for them to put everything back in the cart. Now we are ready, she said, giving her boys a smile of trust before leading the way into the room. Within a fortnight, she had a production line system of dressing changes which enabled her to dress 25 post-operatives in an hour and have a full report on each ready for the doctor when he made his rounds at 8:30. When he saw the dressing boys in action, Dr. Fortunati looked from them to her with something of the same expression he had had when he inspected her work on Father Andre's leg. This time he said, "So, you're a teacher too, Sister Luke." Perhaps if he had not bragged to the mine doctors of how efficiently things were running in his hospital, and how they ought to have a nun to show them how to utilize the black manpower in their own medical center, there would have been no spotlight. The colony was a small place for gossip, especially when the talk was confined to the copper boom town with its white population of born entrepreneurs who reveled in innovation. News of a nun who had a trained circus of dressing boys got around. The apostolic delegate of the province telephoned to Mother Mathilde to inform her that one of her nuns had apparently gone out of the mold and was being named by name in public places. You could be named as a white sister, or a gray or a blue sister, as a Dominican, a Franciscan, a Benedictine, or an Ursuline. If the public knew enough to read coif and habit and place you in the congregation to which you belonged, you could be called a teaching sister, or a nursing sister, or an evangelizing or a visiting sister. But outside your own walls, your own sphere of work, and co-workers, black and white, you were not supposed to be called by your name in Christ. There was nothing written on it. It simply was not done. And if it was, it meant that you had somehow singularized yourself. Sister Luke knew when Mother Mathilde came to the men's pavilion to watch her dressing boys in action that it was for a reason other than routine inspection. Her shadow lay beneath her never-failing smile, imperceptible to any but the perceiving eyes of a nun. The boys thought she had come to admire them and performed beautifully. They were dressing a cancer post-operative. In swift silence, with a style precise and elegant, Edouard plucked up the soiled dressings with forceps, suspended them for the fraction of an instant over the kidney basin, as if saying to Banzer, yes, it must be held exactly there, no place else, then dropped the dressings into it without looking to see where they fell. Ow. Ow. I keep getting it up my nose this time. I have to think about how to do this. How was I doing it? Anyway. Ilunga unrolled the sterile dressings on the cart. Mafuta opened the lid of the soiled dressing container each time the kidney basin was full. They all stepped back like soldiers when Edouard came to the collodion gauze. Emile summoned Sister Luke to the bedside with a glance. "What teamwork, Reverend Mayor," said the patient. "You must be proud of your nuns." He turned his head on the pillow and smiled at Mother Mathilde. "We could do with a little of this organization in the textile mills." Sister Luke lifted the gauze and inspected the clamps on the large abdominal incision. Ordinarily, she would have told the boys why they were not yet ready for removal, but she dared not trust her voice. It would not be the sure, steady one they knew. Like her heart, it would tremble with the awareness she had plucked from the air when she stood by Mother Mathilde. She had erred. She had failed her superior somehow. It meant nothing that Mother Mathilde's voice and manner betrayed no more than appreciative interest in a nursing job well done, for no nun ever rebuked another in the presence of others. If I had failed her, Sister Luke thought, oh God, let it be anyone else. The doctor, patient, any or all of my sisters, but not her. Not her. She signed abruptly to Mafuta for a clean collodion gauze, laid it on the wound, and stepped back. The boys moved in to complete the dressing. "I must go now, monsieur," said Mother Mathilde. "I leave you indeed in capable hands." As was customary, Sister Luke accompanied her to the door of the pavilion. The superior paused in an alcove apart from the traffic of the corridor. "Your only fault, sister," she said softly, "was in failing to tell me about this in advance. I see now that you are not responsible for a certain acclaim this work has brought. It would have been noted eventually no matter which sister inspired it. But earlier, when our delegate telephoned me to ask why one of my nuns sought to singularize herself, I had no answer. From its effect upon her, the mild reproach might have been delivered with a lash. She trembled and wanted to strike back at the purple-sashed delegate who had made her superior suffer with the knowledge that one of her nuns had not confided in her. She knew exactly the sort of polite, aggrieved words he must have spoken. She had had a brush with him once and had discovered him to be, as far as she could see or sense, curiously untouched by the largeness of the Congo. "I should have told you, ma mère," she whispered. "I think perhaps I wanted to surprise you." She stopped before her voice would break. "I have my answer now, sister," said Mother Mathilde very firmly and loyally. "I shall telephone to our delegate, perhaps even invite him to come see how we make both ends meet, lacking sufficient nursing sisters." Her parting smile made it all seem a very small matter. But it was not a small matter, not when you were a nun. Though but a sin of omission, the most forgivable, you nevertheless had to connect it to all the others that had gone before. You had to put it into the context of your religious life. "Oh, hi! I didn't bring nuts. But hello. You could come over?" He's really close. "Hi." He's on the ground. "Oh, jump, jump. It's okay. I'll keep reading. Okay." The more failings she had put into the context, the more depressed she became. The doctor was the first to see a change in her. One morning after operations, he detained her in surgery. He showed her the final X-ray of Father Andre's leg and gave her a photo print of it for a keepsake. "To remind you always," he said, "that you are an excellent nurse." He watched her slip the photo without comment into her pocket. Then he said, "But you know something, sister. You're much too stark and disciplined a person. Something in your life here has made you so. I remember how you were when you first came out to the colony. Recently I've watched you tighten, fold in upon yourself, and I cannot think why. What is it, sister?" Caught off guard, she flushed. That this irreligious layman had guessed her inner struggle nearly brought tears. She turned quickly and left the surgery, but his sharp face, grown suddenly sympathetic, was difficult to banish from her thoughts. And the way he had talked to her, as if she were a human being in the world, beset like any other with troubles that a friend might be able to understand and help to iron out. She knew that if she were the kind of docile nun who thought every emotion worth reporting to the superior, she should go to Mother Mathilde and tell her of her reactions to the doctor's personal remarks. She stood for a moment undecided. She heard very distinctly the voice of the mistress of novices saying, "Every failure to a superior, no matter how small or how innocently committed, is a tug at your sleeve from the world, trying to pull you back to it." But she was never to know if she would have gone that day. Duty came toward her down the hospital corridor in the form of Father Vermeulen, the famous priest of the leper colony, and Etienne, the town's coiffeur. Etienne was there to dress the hair of the banker's wife, and Father Vermeulen had come for his annual precautionary check. The saint and the sinner, she thought as she watched them approach. And that's the end of that chapter. Shorter one today, But that's it. So I will smoke one last cigarette here and see if little squirrely comes back. I don't know. He's getting a little brave. He's on the ground. He was, oh, there you, is that still you or is that someone else? Hopping on the neighbor's roof now. I'd love him to come over, and I need food for him. I'm going to see what squirrels can't resist. Let me get that. my squirrel friend. He's cute. It'd be so cute if he joined us here. Mm-hmm. No, I have not. I have heard of that, and I have not seen it. Plenty of movies to see. Yeah, I need to make a list. What else is new? What else is new? If you like my reading, I put up a new video reading from a diary. The guy is taking a trip around Europe. It's fun. We found his relatives. I found his relatives. And we're going to return the diary once I'm done reading it. And I'm putting together, you know, my diary reading project. Right now it's just at buymeacoffee.com/KendallBrenneman. Where I might put all these at some point, just so you know. Like when it's all done and whatever. We'll see. We will see. But I'm thinking of a name for my diary reading project. And so far, the best one I've got is the Lost Diary Project. Because they're lost to the families, you know. They're just, they didn't know how this one got on eBay. They're so happy it exists. They didn't know it existed. And I want to reunite these diaries with people. I can't wait to read them all. I have so many. I can't wait. And yeah, what do you think of the title, The Lost Diary Project? Do you have anything else in mind? Because I want to buy a URL soon so I can easily direct people to it. And that's the best idea I have so far. The Lost Diary Project. It'll be fun. What else? What else? You can also just make donations over at buymeacoffee.com if you want. Gosh, what's happening this week? I don't know. I scheduled my next driving appointment November 5th. It's the soonest I could get. And I have to sign up for this website so I can study on it. I think that website would help me better than the app I have. So I'm going to do that after the weekend. Dedicate an hour a day to studying that. I really need to pass this thing. What else? What else? Oh, my stomach is hungry. Yes. Well, it is almost dinner time. The neighbors, I hope that music isn't noticeable by YouTube, because then they'll be like, oh, you can't monetize because there's music. They're really dumb like that. No video this week. I did not get the Sabrina thing done. I need to start editing that. I was busy with the diary things. I need to edit it. I need to record a couple more things for it. Some outside with the dress. I want to get some good shots. But it's been rainy. And I have to decide what I'm saying. I have to write a little script for it because I want to talk about the original dress. I know, men, you aren't interested, but it's a really pretty dress. And an interesting story. The dress has an interesting story. Oh, thank you. I'm glad. I will do something else with that makeup as well since I bought it. I gotta get some use out of it. I need to write myself a little short film. Or just, yeah, recreate scenes from Roman Holiday. I'll have to do something where I like cut back and forth between me and Gregory Peck because I don't have an actor around here to play him. And I'm not in Rome. But that would be fun. Man, if I could get to Rome and do that. Oh, that would be pretty fun. To the kitchen. Oh, yeah. What am I gonna do in the kitchen? Well, that's not really a kitchen thing. I'm doing something with nettles, but that's kind of a long process of gathering them and peeling them and whatnot. That's not really a kitchen thing. What did I want to make? I have to find some interesting recipes. I'm gonna do something with the elderflowers that I have, but that's basically boiling water and then letting it sit in there for months on end, so that's not going to be a very long video if I did that. I'm trying to make a wine. And I didn't do any videos gathering the flowers. Yeah, I'll have to think of something I can make. I made a nettle soup the other day. That was really nice. I really love the dandelion soup I made. And I can't find the recipe again. I need to find that, because that was really good. Gotta make that again. I freeze some things so I can make things later. So I have frozen dandelion stuff, leaves, and some flowers. Making my own chocolate. How do you make your own chocolate, though? I'll look into it. That'd be interesting. Seems like it might end up more expensive than just buying chocolate, though. Yeah, I'll think of something in the kitchen. Since the weather will be getting colder, and I'll do things inside. Yeah. What have I done this week? It feels like I haven't done a lot. I did my diary video. I gotta catch up with some of that stuff. And I have to try to record more of those. I have 4 more to go on this diary. So I'd like to get it back to them as soon as I can. And start a new one. And start building up my collection of diary readings on my little channel. Ooh, that's getting close. But as for this channel, it's terrible. I mean, I can't do the weekly videos. I mean, this, yes, but my other weekly videos, it's gotten to be a little much. I really enjoyed it. It kept me occupied and happy for the first half of the year. But now I have to do my driver's license test and try to get into classes now that things I think are starting, like ballet and Dutch. Some of them like herring, if that's comfort food. It's okay. It's okay. I could do that today. Not regularly. I love sushi, but herring's a bit much. Comfort food. What'd they make? My boyfriend's dad, whenever he cooks, he likes to make potatoes. Just potatoes. What's a Dutch thing? I feel like there is something, there's a certain kind of soup, I think, but I can't remember what it was. It's been a while since I had it. Oh, like a pea soup, I think. I think it was a pea soup. Oh, one thing I want to do, I was preparing last year to do some recipes from World War II. I did the tulip soup, and I had bought a bunch of edible tulip bulbs, organic bulbs, and I planted a bunch of them so that they would like multiply. Well, someone dug them up, and I had to buy more. So I am lacking the tulip bulbs, and I was really hoping to dig them up and I guess dry them or cook them and make a flour and make a bread, as they did with it. I mean, you have to mix real bread with it to get the yeast. I wanted to do that, but they're gone. I ordered more bulbs, but it's like 25 euros for a bag of them. They haven't arrived yet. They won't arrive till September, October. And hopefully I won't need to use too many of them to make the bread. So that is something I'm gonna make, hopefully. I'm disappointed that I can't do it the way I wanted to, like digging them up. But what can you do? So I'll be doing that, like tulip flour bread or cookies maybe. Yeah, so I'll do that. That's unique. Yeah, I need to find some old recipes. I was hoping some of the diaries I would buy might have old recipes in them that I could do. But so far I have not gotten one with old recipes. But I can probably find some online. Actually, I'd like to try some really old recipes. You know, like from the 1800s or 1700s or something like that. That would be fun. Do it in my Outlander outfit in a modern kitchen, I guess. Yeah, think. I feel a little buzzed. The tobacco gives me a little, make it a little spacey. I didn't have anything exciting to announce this week. I'm just gonna sit here and think. No, working on my nettles. We'll do the tulip thing when the tulip bulbs arrive. But yeah, but videos, it's gotten to be too much to try to do one every week. And now that I'm trying to do more of the diary videos for the other project, I'm also kind of running out of ideas. I still look for ideas, and I think I will keep a list and do them as I have the ideas. So I'll probably be making videos every 2 or 3 weeks, which means this will probably not end up being a good income for me on YouTube unless something goes viral. I want to stay active, but it's just not going to be a weekly thing until I have something that's quicker and easier to produce on a weekly basis, I guess. I mean, the diaries could be, but it's a separate thing. This channel is for me being all vintage and Audrey Hepburn and whatever. So, yeah. Always give suggestions, see what I can use. I was thinking of making podcasts of the diary episodes as well. I wonder about reading in Audrey's voice. I mean, you wouldn't see the smoking, but I'm wondering if that might be an interesting thing. I'm not sure what I would read. I don't know, like, when copyright is considered what you're allowed to read, or, you know what I mean? This book, I mean, I didn't even really think about it, but fortunately, I think the copyright issue is up in the air. So I think I'm safe reading this book. But I do wonder if like a podcast reading as Audrey might be enjoyable, a good sleep aid for people. I don't know. I think her voice and my voice as her voice is kind of relaxing. Yeah, I don't know. I should stop trying to come up with ideas because I don't have time for everything. I have other things I want to do. I've dedicated my weekends to things like sewing and reading. I got a little sewing done today, not so much reading. I went on a walk, tried to befriend some horses. A little baby horse, he's so cute. He was a little scared though, but I threw pieces of apples at him. Yeah, so my weekends are for relaxing now. Before this, every day was basically the same, and I would just work and then be annoyed that people wouldn't answer my emails over the weekends. But now it's relaxed time. Sewing. I'm going to do some sewing after dinner and sewing tomorrow. I guess that's about it for now. Don't forget, you can show your appreciation at buymeacoffee.com/Kendall Brenneman. And if you want to hear, just if you like me reading, and like my real voice, you can go there for more the diary readings, which each episode of that is, you know, roughly an hour as well. A little less. I don't think they ever exceed an hour. And gradually building it up there. Yeah, I can't think of anything. Later. Bye. See you next week. I hope, yeah. Oh, look at that. We did not get rained out. That is 11 weeks in a row. I think that's amazing for the amount of rain we've been getting. It's fun. Yeah, how long can we go? My boyfriend thinks it's kind of amazing that I haven't been rained out yet. And so do I. All right. I guess that's all for today. Yeah. Go over to my Instagram too. I'd love people to go over there and enjoy my pictures. Yeah, I'm still active there. I've been starting to make a couple videos for TikTok, but not so much. I don't think I'm going to be a TikTok star. I'm just, people must spend so much time on that. Like, I can't imagine. I mean, it takes time to make videos and pictures and everything. It takes time. Just can't do everything. These people, I am just very impressed by what they get done with Instagram and TikTok, and I don't know how they make money with it. Thank you. I try. I'm trying harder these days. So yeah, okay. I guess that's it. I can't really think of anything important to share other than let me know what you think of the idea of the Lost Diary project, or if you have another idea, the Lost Diary something. I want to buy that URL perhaps this weekend so I can organize that better. I'd really love to find the audience for that and find people interested in helping. The idea is everyone can help me by reading the diaries themselves or listening and do the research. We'll be little detectives and find the families. Or first of all, some of them we have to figure out the person. So far, the ones I've read, I figured out their name. Bye. Their name, but then, yeah, finding their family. This is the goal, and it's fun detective work if you like that sort of thing. So I want to attract the audience over there, and yeah, it'll be fun. So if you're interested in that, if you have an idea for a title, let me know. And that's about it. I'm gonna head off and do some sewing, and hopefully the weather will hold out for next week, and we'll read same time, same place. Seems like a good spot. So, okay, someone's starting a lawnmower. I don't know. I'm gonna say goodbye now. Thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed that, and see you later. Ah.